Hey everyone, how you doing? This is Amon Green, Green Bay Packers all-time leading rusher, and you're watching Packers Total Access Live, your daily source for Packer content. Go Pack, go!
What's up, guys? Welcome into Packers Total Access. My name is Clayton. You can check us out on Packernet.com. Find me on Twitter at Packers_Access. Joined alongside Jacob in Wisconsin. We may have Emilio joining us shortly. I'm not sure if he'll make it by the end of the show. Obviously, we're getting cranked up here a little bit early. Also, Tim back in the fold. If everything goes as planned, he'll be back on the show tomorrow. So that's going to be a blast having a good old Tim back on. I'll tell you, Jacob, he adds a lot of intelligence to this silly little program as we just try to keep it on the rails while he's gone.
Yeah, he does, and he's real good at the drops. It's a lost art that I'm not good at, and you can tell when Tim's not on the pod because the drops suffer. I will say
the drops are. Some would say they're the best. People say so. All right, what we're going to do tonight, guys, we're going to get into some more offensive and defensive production statistics, okay? Last night we focused on scoring, which in my opinion is the most important stat. Anyone who disagrees, I mean, hey, we can agree to disagree, but at the end of the day, you don't look up and go, all right, who had the most yards? They're the winner. That's not how it works, right? So I feel like everything's kind of built around the scoring across the league. And now we're going to get into some detailed offensive and defensive production. So we'll try to get through everything here in a 40-minute episode, go rapid fire, and it's going to be like drinking from a fire hose for everybody listening on the podcast. Hopefully this will be one of your favorite shows that we've done, because I know sometimes we get off the rails on things you can't see in here, but hopefully we can explain everything in detail enough so you come away understanding just how good or maybe not so good the Packers offense and defense was. I personally believe they had one heck of a season. So let's jump into it. Jacob, let's start off with offense here, man. And, we talked about the scoring last night. It's kind of still fresh on the mind here. They were basically a top 10 offense, right? In some cases, a top 5, some would argue. So let's get into some of the details of Matt LaFleur's offense in 2024. First of all, offense team yards per play. Okay, so this is you take the total yards divided by the number of plays the team ran, and that is a total efficiency metric, in my opinion. Okay, it's showing you how many yards you gain every time you run an offensive snap, if that makes sense. So Green Bay finishing 5th in the league with 6.1 yards per play. Obviously, a top 5 offense there, up from the previous year of 5.7. So isn't it amazing? Like, we finished 2023, the second half of 2023, Jacob, Jordan Love had one heck of a second half, right? Arguably the best quarterback in the league during the second half of the 2023 season. And yet you look up in 2024 and Green Bay outperformed themselves at 6.1. Does that catch you off guard a little bit?
It does, definitely. And what's also interesting is if you look at that list right there, the top 5, you kind of like, all right, that fits. Baltimore, Detroit, San Francisco, Tampa Bay, Green Bay, Buffalo. And then you see Arizona, Atlanta, and then on the I wouldn't say the very bottom, but 22nd, you see Kansas City
right
down there next to the Jets and Denver. And you're like, all right, okay. It just kind of leads a little bit of credence to the fact that, like, we as Packer fans really do, I think we're a little too overcritical of certain things. I guarantee you, like, if we were to maybe do a poll like postseason and say, hey, were the Packers a top 5 offense? People would probably be, if you're a Packer fan, you'd probably say no. They'd get very aggressive about it. But like, when you look at the stats, man, this is what's been great about looking at these statistics and kind of taking a step back, looking at it from 30,000 feet. We were way better than I think that a lot of the fan base gives us credit for. And I think we need to be a little more thankful, especially on a day like today, right, Clayton? This is a day where we should give thanks, appreciate people. I'm just saying it is a little bit shocking, though. It is.
It is, man. And the big thing that sticks out to me is think of the starting quarterbacks for these top 5 teams. Baltimore, you got Lamar Jackson. Detroit, you've got Jared Goff. San Francisco, one of if not the highest paid quarterbacks in the league now in Brock Purdy. Tampa Bay, you got Baker Mayfield, who we talked about has exceeded all expectations down there. Green Bay in the 5 spot. Buffalo is in the 6th spot. Obviously, Josh Allen, your reigning MVP. Arizona, you've got Kyler Murray. That's the first one, and I go,
God bless the little guy.
Yeah, exactly. And of course, Joe Burrow, Cincinnati Bengals, man, as good as he was last year, they finished 9th behind Atlanta.
Right.
Well, tied with Atlanta, I guess tied for 8th there. And Buffalo and Arizona were both tied for 6th. So, again, when you look at it, too, from the Phillies standpoint, Phillies are Super Bowl champions, right? 5.6 yards per play. Green Bay outperformed them offensively this year. So, Matt LaFleur, you got to tip your cap to him for sure. Now, some would say, okay, forget yards per play. Let's go yards per game. We actually finished 7th in yards per game. You guys know how I feel about this. Yards per play is a more true metric on how efficient the offense was, or how productive the offense was, I should say, as opposed to offensive team yards per game. And the reason being is you may get an extra possession or two, Jacob. But when you break it down per play, that shows you just how productive an offense was. Here's the list. Baltimore 1, Detroit 2, Tampa 3, San Francisco 4, Washington 5, Atlanta 6, and your Green Bay Packers in the number 7 spot. Once again, in 2023, we had 348 total yards per game. This year, we jumped all the way to 366. What sticks out to you about that list?
I guess that it's more impressive than I thought. You know what I mean? Again, I'm a little bit shocked by Atlanta beating us there at the 6th spot, because you don't really see. If I'm an Atlanta fan, I'm kind of having a little bit more of quiet confidence, even with Penix going into that season. But I mean, Green Bay, again, like, we're top 10, you know, and it's again one of those things where I don't think people gave the Packers enough respect. We had our troubles last year, absolutely, but if you were to talk to, like I said, average fans and say, hey, do you think we're a top 5 offense? Do you think we're a top 10 offense? I think you get a lot of pushback, but the fact is the facts are the facts. Like, the stats speak for themselves. And I think it's hopefully optimistic, because we had a lot of troubles this year. You know what I mean? Jordan Love was not healthy. The wide receiver drops were an issue. We were not firing on all cylinders. So imagine, as we are basically kind of sputtering and kind of, you know, not necessarily killing it, imagine what we could do this year if all things start aligning and Jordan Love's healthy and we don't have the most drops out of, I don't know, any Packer team in the last 20 years. I think that we'd probably be 1 or 2, 3, you know, we'd be a top 3. Yeah.
I agree. And speaking of drops, Jacob, we got breaking news here, sir.
Yeah.
Read it off to the good folks here, Jacob.
Mr. Chuck Jagger says, my girl said yes, my peeps, officially engaged. Congratulations to you, sir. It's always a blessing when we see it's always a blessing when we see the listeners, the whatever you want to call them, fans, members, PTA members that you know, the part that makes this podcast so great is that you guys share a lot of information with us. Sometimes I would argue too much in the chat.
Everywhere. Jan almost everywhere.
No, I couldn't be more happier for you guys. But honestly, it is a blessing too, and I think that's what's honestly unique about this podcast is that we know way too much about each other. We really do.
Yeah. In some cases, we may be accessory to illegal activities as we roll through the chat from time to time. But no, on a serious note, Chuck, congratulations, man. Best decision I ever made. I made it at a very young age. Obviously, me and Mandy just celebrated our 25th year together. We've been married for 19. And I'm telling you, man, it's these people that think that there's happiness outside of trying to settle down with someone that you consider your best friend and got your back through thick and thin. I'm telling you, you're missing out. You're missing out, guys. If you're out there in the club, I know you're broke anyway. You're carrying around that same warm $7 beer all night long, trying to act like a player. Settle down. Go find you a good one.
I'm telling you, from a man that's had a lot of experience, you find a good one, lock her down, man. Lock her down. I'm telling you.
They're hard to come by nowadays.
It really
and I guarantee
is.
the ladies are saying the same thing probably. So maybe we need to straighten up as guys. I'm just saying. So
sure.
All right,
sure.
Back to your regular scheduled program. Because the reality is, Jacob, sometimes, I mean, there's a lot of good ones out there, but every now and again you come across one and you go,
Could be a crackhead.
you know what I'm saying? That's just the way it is.
Got hold of the wrong stuff.
Oh, you want that?
They got hold to the wrong stuff.
Exactly.
All right. So here we go. The next thing, and I personally think this is more important than overall yards per play. It doesn't matter how many yards you gain. If you turn the ball over consistently, statistically speaking, throughout the history of the NFL, you're going to lose more games than you win. It's just going to happen, right? We talked about the percentage of the chances of winning. +1 turnover, you're in the 60 percentile. +2, you're in the 70, I think it is. And +3, you're in the 80, low 90s percentile there. So giving away the ball is the most crucial thing that can happen in a football game. So when it comes to giveaways last year, if you're wondering, Clayton, how in the heck are we top 5, top 10 in all the offensive categories and defensive categories, but we still, went 1-5 in the division, right? This is the statistic right here. And I'm going to continue to harp on it because I really feel like this is what's going to set Green Bay apart if they could cut down on giveaways. So overall offensive team giveaways per game, we were ranked 17th. We gave the ball away on average 1.3 times per game. Leading the way was Buffalo at only 0.4. Okay. Basically what that breaks down into, what would that be, Jacob? It would take about your third game before Buffalo would give the ball away, right? Is essentially how that breaks down. So the LA Chargers were second at 0.7. Baltimore was tied for second as well at 0.7. Philadelphia, this is one of those statistics you look up and go, okay, Philadelphia was less in yards per play, yes, less in yards per game. However, they protected the football, 0.8 giveaways per game. The LA Rams at 0.8 as well. In Kansas City, the AFC representative, we've seen them low on some of the statistical lists. You see they protected the football last year. So
yeah. You know what is glaringly absolutely obvious right now, and it kind of pisses me off, to be honest. You look at that, okay, 1.3, not absolutely terrible tie with Minnesota, but look at the last 3 games, then look at the last 1 game. We absolutely shot ourselves in the foot to end the season. So the last 3 games, we averaged nearly we did average 2.3 turnovers per game. Like Clay just said, you just can't win with that. And then you look at the last game, 4. Yeah, that'll do it. That'll put you in the, pooper. It's just, and it's tough. And if you look at that 2023 ratio there, again, we took a step back overall in the season. And I would argue definitely that we had a better team in 2024 than 2023. But in certain metrics, if you don't surpass that, you're not going to have a good season, man. And it stinks. It does, because no matter how much that I loved what we did in certain situations last year, there were situations where we gave up wins. We did, and it was tough to watch, Yeah.
Again, it's one of those statistics that one of the few statistics we regressed in last year as opposed to 2023. And it's turnovers, man. It's absolutely huge. So let's focus in now on interceptions thrown. And this was the big one. This was the doozy. Interceptions thrown per game, we finished 19th, okay, at 0.8 interceptions thrown per game. We basically we just about averaged 1 interception thrown per game. Now you look at the year before, it was 0.7. Very similar. You're kind of splitting hairs there, but also look at the teams in the league. Baltimore at 0.3, Buffalo 0.3, Pittsburgh 0.3, Philadelphia 0.3. Jalen Hurts protected the football in the air. There's no two ways about it. Now, it helps when you've got an extremely, extremely effective running game, but Green Bay had a good running game as well. So that's another key statistic here in terms of interceptions thrown per game. If Jordan Love is able to cut that number down to, say, 0.5, that's when you're getting in that range, 12, 13, maybe even 14 wins. I truly believe that, because it would have been the difference in the turnover differential. Not necessarily against Philly in the playoffs where you turn the ball over 4 times, right? But I think we threw 3 interceptions, then had the 1 fumble there as well. So got to protect the football.
Yeah, I'll also say that, again, it's surprising to see Detroit at 24th like that. That surprises me a little bit. Everybody talks about how Goff is such a game protector, how he's a manager, how he's a great quarterback, blah, blah, blah. That metric right there dictates it's a little bit different story.
And look at their final game when they lost in the playoffs. 4 interceptions he threw
just like I did, or just like we did,
Yeah, exactly. All right, so now let's break it down a little bit deeper here. Offensive team interceptions thrown percentage. Okay, so this breaks it down even further. You go, okay, interceptions per game, you're at 0.8. All right, yeah, you need to get that number down closer to 0.5 to really be effective there and be a top 10 in terms of protecting the football. But when you go to interceptions thrown percentage, and the reason this number seems significantly higher in terms of where we're ranked actually ranked 25th in this metric. It's because we did press into the run. We leaned on the run a little bit more last year. However, throwing the ball less means your interception thrown percentage is going to go up, right? So with that being said, finished in 25th 2.73% of the throws were intercepted is the way I understand that metric in terms of interception thrown percentage. Now, you look at the year before, we were at 2.04. That's a pretty significant increase. And again, you look at the Philly game, that last game there in the playoffs, 9% of the throws.
Oof.
Through.
Jeez.
That's not good, bub. Not good at all.
No.
So, and again, I want to say this, that one interception, I keep coming back to that, Jacob, because it does make it look a little more inflated. One of the 3 interceptions he threw, I agreed with. Take that shot play, one-on-one coverage, give your guy a shot. Nothing else is truly working to the level you want it to work out on offense. So I understand taking that shot. But, yeah, go ahead. So I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, it's, you're exactly right. I mean, and it's an odd, again, grouping. You see Minnesota, Las Vegas, Detroit, Seattle, Tampa Bay, Green Bay, Carolina, Jacksonville. It's like that's such a hodgepodge of weird offenses where you wouldn't necessarily say, I don't expect Detroit to be in that group. I don't expect Green Bay, Tampa Bay to be in that grouping there. It's just it's a weird situation. And like you said, you get 1 or 2 different interceptions that go a different way. This whole Packers squad is the whole Packers season is drastically different. You know what I mean? And it is a little bit tough. Like that's a hard pill to swallow because as much as I'm on Jordan Love's team, that's absolutely where I am. I think he's the guy. I think that he is going to be the guy, but there are certain situations where you're like, what the heck were you doing there? You know,
right.
And
it's
tough.
Again, trying to do too much and not taking your checkdowns, and not necessarily taking the checkdowns, but not taking the checkdowns on time was the big thing to tape
exactly.
show to me. Sports Wave 86 in the house is best Packer show on the internet. Let's go. I appreciate you, Sports Wave. Thank you for the kind words. Thank you for dropping in here this evening. Let's go to fumbles now, Jacob. You know, we talked about the Christian Watson fumble that cost us there in one of those important games, right? Fumbles were an issue. We finished 14th, right? Actually, tied for 14th there at 1.2 fumbles per game that we average. Now, if you go back to 2023, we actually cut that number down a little bit in 24 because in 23 we were at 1.3 fumbles per game. But again, splitting hairs just a 10th of a fumble there in terms of per game. I'll say this. When you throw a lot of interceptions, you have a lot of drop passes, you have a lot of penalties, you have a lot of fumbles. That typically happens with the youngest team in the league. It is what it is. So you're 1 year older now. You got a little bit older, I imagine, with the signing of Aaron Banks, and of course on the defensive side of the ball, who was it? No, it was Aaron Banks at guard. Who was the other signing?
We got Hobbs.
Nate Hobbs, that's right. So hopefully you'll cut down on some of the penalties as well as the protecting the football. So moving along, offense, team third down conversion percentage. Here you're seeing us in the top 10. We converted on 40%, 40.39% to be exact, in terms of third down conversion. Now, that was down from the previous year of 47.97%. Okay, now when you look at the last game, we converted pretty well against Philly, 53.85%. And those last 3 games, it seemed to put it together. What you're looking for in the last 3 games, Jacob, is a little bit of momentum, right? You want to carry a little momentum into the next year where we're improving on that. I think third down conversion definitely shows that you're increasing by 8% in terms of the last 3 games of the season. Nonetheless, so you finish in the top 10. I'm pretty happy with that statistic from the youngest team in the league.
Yeah. Emilio, you got your clothes on? You good? Okay.
Always.
That's not true. That's not true. Just saying. Yeah, I agree with what you said there, Clay. If you were to categorize this, I mean, the last 3, if you sort that by, we got to be, top 5, top 10 there, especially with that last one. And if you actually look at Philly, that surprises me a lot that their last 3 were kind of poor, and that last one was 25%. I mean, I'm just telling you, United Bates is excited to see Excelio. I don't know why. It's weird.
That's right.
Yeah, see, Jacob, you never get that kind of, you never get that.
I don't. What's going on, man? That's
I'm
weird.
just saying.
You guys just want me to show my butt tat.
I'm still waiting to see it too, so it's all right.
Oh man, I tell you, all you got to do is just pay the door charge over at the office. You'll see it every night.
Got to pay the troll toll, man.
So, Emilio, you're joining in here a little bit late. We're hitting on the offensive, kind of a deep dive on the offensive production from last year, efficiency, whatever you want to call it. So you can just jump right in here in a second. Offensive team yards per rush attempt. Let's talk about the running game now, okay? So this is basically how many yards per carry we had in the running game. Now, keep in mind, this is running backs. It also includes jet sweeps, things of that nature, quarterback scrambles, all that. But nonetheless, the Packers finished 7th in the league, 4.7 yards per carry. That was up from 4.4 the previous year, right? So Josh Jacobs having a big impact last year in the running game. We were tied with San Francisco. And again, at the top of the list, you got Baltimore, Arizona, Tampa Bay, Philadelphia, Detroit, Washington, San Fran, and then us. So we were literally just, 0.3 of a yard per carry when it comes to trying to match up with Philly. That shows you how effective the running game was. Now, when you look at the last game, Philly did a pretty good job of slowing us down, reducing that down to 4.3 yards per carry. I want you to key in on something. I know we're covering the offense right now, but let's talk defense for just a second. Philadelphia averaged 5 yards a carry all year long. That playoff game against us, they only averaged 3 yards a carry. Jeff Hafley put some spec on his name. The defense showed up. It was the offense that didn't show up in that game. But, Emilio, what do you think about that, man? Rushing yards per attempt, anything you want to add there, man? Finishing 7th in the league.
Like that we're top 10. You got to keep a balanced offense to really help. I think a couple of those games early with Malik probably helped some of those numbers. And, I like that we've gone up from last year at the 4.4. But I think it's something we just need to do to kind of close out games. You see who's in the top 5 there. Baltimore's mean. Arizona is hit or miss. Tampa Bay's, always kind of tough for us. Philly and Detroit, right? So I think we're right there. I do think we need to keep to it. Josh Jacobs always on the grind. I love his mentality. And, it's like we're tied for 7th, so it's a 3-way tie there right around San Fran. I'm not mad at it. Really just don't want to see it go down next year.
And Detroit got all kinds of love last year, Jacob. Reality is we were 1/10 of a yard per carry behind them. So these people that think Detroit's running game, some Packer fans think that Detroit's running game is so much better than the Packers. They're living in la-la land.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, I agree. Baltimore, obviously everybody knows what's going on there. Arizona, Connor is one of the most underrated running backs I think that's ever been in the league. Like, no one gives that dude credit, but he just year in and year out just gets his lunch bill and he's like, all right, I'll just get 1,300 yards quietly, and I think that Josh Jacobs is, I don't want to say he's on the level where like people need to start thinking him as a top 3 guy. If he does it again this year, I think that definitely is deserved, because boy, I tell you what, man, some of the way he was an aggressive runner. You know what I mean? Yep. Like some of the runs, some of the highlights, I even look back and I'm like, damn, like the dude.
When he called the dude up to him, like,
yeah. When he was going to the sideline, he's like, no. How about you come?
You
kiss.
Come here.
Yeah.
I need you right here, buddy. And just ran through his face. I love it.
Yep.
All right, let's go to rushing yards per game. Green Bay finishes 6th there with 144.6 rushing yards per game. Again, loved Aaron Jones, but look at the year before. Only 114.9 rushing yards per game, right? Mm-hmm. So you could see how the Packers continue to get better at running the football here. And what did they do schematically? They switched into a little more duo look, right? That they ran a lot more duo than they typically did. I remember when we signed Josh Jacobs, everybody's going, hey, man, what's going to be the deal here? Are we going to cut down on wide zone? Yes, we cut down on wide zone tremendously. We go into inside zone and duo looks. And then all of a sudden, a little bit more RPO. And then we look up this year, and you added 2 330-plus pound offensive linemen to the mix as well. I think they're going to really press into double-double up front. So, again, rushing yards per game. Really, really nice number there, 144.6. And listen, the reality, too, is, Jacob, this wasn't just Josh Jacobs. This is also Emmanuel Wilson contributing big time,
Yep.
So
100%. And that's where I'm a little bit nervous as to what's going to happen in the running back room, because I absolutely loved what our backups did. Even Chris Brooks, you know what I mean? Like, absolutely did not expect to have some of the production and the confidence that obviously the coaching staff had in that guy. And we looked at his receiving. Remember he was like 100% on balls being caught out of the backfield kind of thing. Like, how do you take him off the field? Like, I want to see Marshawn Lloyd a lot. Like, I am almost giddy thinking about what he could do, but it's like, to take away snaps from some of those dudes that actually proved that they, like you said, man, that 144, don't get me wrong, Jacobs was a beast, but he didn't do it all by himself.
Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely. And just kind of looking at some of those numbers there, looking at the last 3 games, Baltimore kept it up to 231 yards, Philly at 216,
Wow.
Detroit at 177, Washington at 121. You kind of see a dip there. And then you have Tampa Bay at 160, Packers at 131, under our average. And then Arizona, Indy, and Buffalo all above their average there. I think that's just kind of looking at the playoffs. Like if you're getting yourself behind and you have to turn to the pass game, I think that's something that you got to kind of keep an eye out for. Obviously, one of those, probably the end of the season, but still, seeing how Philly was still able to keep, 216 average in their last 3 games. Those are all playoff games. So that's something that we kind of need to keep in our head. We need to be able to run the ball when it gets late in the season.
Yeah, Greg writes in the chat. I heard Jacobs
Says
Jacob
he likes-
say he likes duo.
Say he
Guys,
likes
come on,
Jacob.
Greg, get your fingers together.
It's all good, man. I'm worse than Greg. I promise you that. Says he likes duo, which I think means double team blocks because he can play games with the linebacker who is behind the D line that is being blocked. That's exactly correct. Now, when you get duo, it's basically it's double, typically 2 double teams, vertical displacement, and those backers, they not only do they have to read the running back in those late cuts, but they've also got to read the blockers. When they see a double team, they got to go, which one's peeling off on me, right? And if they find themselves washed out of the play, what Jacobs is talking about in that interview, I think it was might have been with Bussin' with the Boys. I can't remember who it was.
I think that's right. Yeah.
But he'll set them up. He'll know that the duo call that was put into the play call, he'll know that the left guard's pulling off that block, off that double team, getting to the next level. So he may do a jab step right inside, set the backer up to take a half a step in, cut off the hip pocket, the outside hip pocket of the guard. And that's where you get him running down the sideline going, come here, I want you right here.
Yeah.
So,
And isn't that what's more impressive about Edgerrin Cooper? That he can do that. He bypasses what running backs trying to give him that bull crap. You know what I mean?
and it pisses his own coaches off. Like, you're not supposed to be there. Don't matter. I'm going to get there.
Got you, Coach. I'll be there.
Yeah. That's a great point, Jacob. Great point. Because, as and it's how offensive coaches look at it. Like, as you're going through and watching the tape on your own players, you're also looking at your defense on your tape with your team going, all right, what do we do well and how do we play off of that? That's why it's important to have great players on both sides of the ball just from a practice standpoint. We talked about Charles Woodson back in the day covering the receivers, right? And then you get Devontae Adams burst onto the scene, and Jair comes in as a young corner. He's got to cover Adams in practice, right? And then once Adams is gone, now guess what happens? You got Christian Watson, these young receivers coming up, and they're having to be covered by Jair Alexander in practice, right? I remember Romeo Dobbs and him facing off that one camp. So that stuff's important, man. Iron sharpens iron. There's no 2 ways about it. All right, moving along. Offensive team yards per pass attempt. Let's get into the passing game here, boys. As bad as this passing game supposedly was, we were 4th in the entire National Football League in yards per pass attempt at 8.1 yards per pass attempt. That means every time you drop back and threw a pass, you averaged 8 yards gained, is what that means. The previous year, 7.4 yards per pass attempt. Again, it doesn't mean you got at least 8 yards every pass attempt. It means out in the wash, right? Including the incomplete passes, including the short passes and the long passes, you averaged 8.1 yards per pass attempt. 4th best in the league, Emilio, behind Baltimore number 1, Detroit 2, San Francisco 3, and then Green Bay 4. I want to say this too. The people that consider Brock Purdy a check down Charlie, it's not true, guys. It's not true. Yeah. He also had, I think, the highest. He was in the top 5 in passer rating when throwing the ball of yards, 20 air yards or more. So Brock Purdy can hum that tater down the field, but unless, man, even with Green Bay having a down year here, Emilio, 8.1 yards per pass attempts also.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you said, climbing up from that 7.4 last year, looking at 2023 with the 22 on the scale right here, there was only 2 teams that were in the top 5 2 teams above 8.0 yards per pass attempt. Then you got Green Bay over here at 8.1, jumping up 6.6 points from last year. I think that's huge. Looking at the last 3 again, I think we struggled a little bit. Yeah. We're not getting up to our average. That's where I think same with our run game. I think that offense kind of just took it, overall kind of just took a dip as you're looking at these numbers. Though I think that we did, we were real consistent. We were turning it up when we're away from Green Bay, which is huge because we were on the on the road in the playoffs. So that's something, if you can keep that going into next year, that'd be huge. But like I said, don't drop down below 5. Definitely don't drop below 10 this next year. And somehow Baltimore is still a dog way up there, and I just don't know how they didn't get further. They got to get over the KC hump.
They got the yips, bro. They get in those playoffs. They get the yips. I'm telling you.
Crazy with 230 yards per carry, and then you're leading in offensive pass yards per game. I mean, you got Derrick Henry. I don't know what else you can do.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on that, Jacob? Then I'll answer this question here in the chat.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's just, again, we're up there with that's if we were to do that, if we were consistently in the top 5 of offensive team yards per pass attempt, each year, I would argue that we'd, be in contention for winning the bowl every year. It's a tough thing to do consistently. And then like Emilio said, I mean, you look at those last 3 and that last one, there is no other team even in that bracket anywhere near us that took a poopy that big. You know what I mean? It just is. We went from, almost averaging 8 per play or over 8 to then 6 and then 6-4. It's just, you can't expect that the team is going to go, and you got to turn it on when it matters. You got to have your piss has got to be hot, to quote Matt. It's got to be hot, and it just wasn't.
Definitely. Greg Rice asked in the chat, what was our typical run before? Was it zone blocking? So not everyone, but many, the vast majority of people consider duo a zone blocking play. Okay. So zone blocking is, it covers a very broad spectrum, right? Now, if you're asking what changed, we pressed into duo a little bit more. Before that, you ran a lot more. Now, the year before, we still ran a significant amount of duo, but in my opinion, you ran a lot more pin and pull the year before. Before that, you got a lot of more outside zone runs put in. So what you seen was RPO game attached to a little duo look, right? And then you started to press into the wide zone boot a little bit, coming out of the McCarthy scheme, like maybe a year or 2 outside of it.
Yeah.
And then next thing you know, duo emerged, because I remember reading about it in Bobby Peters' book. Like, man, they're really, really starting to press into duo more. And then you go from duo to a little more pin and pull / duo. And then last year, you really pressed into duo. It doesn't mean you didn't run inside zone. Doesn't mean you didn't run outside zone. Doesn't mean you didn't run pin and pull. We've seen some power plays as well. We've seen some counter runs. He's got everything in the arsenal, he being Matt LaFleur. But yeah, before, to me, it seems like, what did we replace with duo? I think you replaced outside zone a little bit more with duo. So that makes sense. And it fits Josh Jacobs' play style. Go ahead, Jake.
Yeah, sorry. Is it a fair summarization to say that zone blocking is blocking towards an area and that duo is more picking out a specific player or players that you want to target when you head that way? Does that make sense?
There's some people that see duo as a gap scheme, which is, hey, here's your gap. Here's where you. Now, other people say, no, it's a zone scheme. With zone, like when you got a gap scheme, you come in, you set the blocking scheme at the line of scrimmage, and everybody knows which hat they're going after. I got that dude. I got that dude. I got that dude. Right now, there's some stuff that might shift, and you got to be flexible and be able to adjust on the fly. But everybody's kind of got their assignment. With zone blocking, you're blocking to an area. The whole line is blocking to an area. Inside zone, it's not as prevalent, right? Because it's not as noticeable because you're not moving much space. But what you're doing with zone is you're allowing the defense to wash themselves out of the play. If you're blocking to a zone and they run a game and that guy runs himself out of the play, in a gap scheme, you would still try to block down on him. But in a zone scheme, go ahead, knucklehead, get your ass out of here. We'll run right by you. And you get to the next level and peel off and continue to.
And I think keeping zone alive in your offense is huge too, because that's where you can get that real drawn out naked bootleg. You can really draw out the play action a lot easier on a zone run than if you're trying to set up a duo and get that whole line over there. It really does sell it.
Yeah. Greg Rice asks, can you explain pin and pull? I don't have the telestrator up right now. Obviously, if we did, it'd be a little bit easier to explain it. But pin and pull, typically the way that works is you've got one side of the line that's going to pin down, and then they're going to pull off the hip pocket of that. Okay, so you're pinning and pulling is why they call it that. And what will happen is when they see the offensive line move in a direction, you think zone left. but then you're pulling off of it and you're actually countering off of it. That's what you call pin and pull. And there's a multitude of variations of pin and pull as well. That's what pin and pull is typically. And here's the thing. If the running back finds himself in a compromised situation where the hat count isn't there, maybe the quarterback didn't get him in or out of the right play, successfully, and he notices they got a +2 hat over here and the play's designed to go there. Well, most of the line's blocking that direction anyway. Just stick to the zone side, right? And not even worry about the pins. There's a little bit of freedom there, especially with Josh Jacobs, who's very patient. He's just a little chop step in the backfield, read it, jab step, set the linebacker up, and then come out the other side and look to hit a safety in the mouth.
Can I ask what could be a dumb question?
No, go ahead, man.
Typically, if I understand correctly, that usually when you have any sort of pulling guards or pulling offensive linemen in general, it's going to be on a run play. Are there ever situations where you would pull protection on a pass play just to disguise?
I love this question. It's funny, man. When you ask a question like that, the memory bank goes.
Josh Myers.
This game right here. This play right here.
I remember kind of seeing it, but I don't quite understand it.
I'll give you a perfect example of it. Dallas Cowboys Stadium, playoffs, Packers trying to go down the field. Remember the play where Aaron Rodgers rolled left and hit Jared Cook on the sideline? Yep. Was it Jared Cook? Am I thinking?
Jared Cook. Yep.
Yeah. Watch that play. If you'll watch it, the guard bounces out or bounces in. David Bakhtiari actually pulls around as a personal protector for Aaron. So Aaron takes the snap, rolls across his right shoulder out to his left, and he's got David Bakhtiari out there protecting him. They actually pulled the tackle to personally protect for Aaron to get him on the edge, and only Aaron has the arm to make that obscene freaking throw. Jared Cook, man. People, you look at that, and it doesn't look like it's a far throw, and then when you break it down, it's like 30 yards in the air or something crazy. It's like, how did he even – anyway, that's why they talk about him being the generational talent that he was, possibly still is. But, yeah, so to answer your question, Jacob, they're rare. They're extremely rare because if that offensive lineman pulls and he gets in front of the line,
it's a scenario-specific kind of play, right? Like,
yeah, absolutely.
And in the game, like we got
that, or unless you want 3 yards maybe, and you're looking for like a sprint out right, and you just want the tackle on that right. You catch it off the shotgun snap, and you just start rolling right away. Do a quick little out route, little whip route, something like that.
You'll see it too. Like when I hear pull, I only consider a pull if an offensive lineman moves at least one gap over, right? Bypasses another offensive lineman. But you'll have moving pockets as well, like a sprint right option play, which is famous throughout the history of the passing game in the NFL. The whole offensive line will kind of move in the direction with the quarterback, right? Or maybe 3 or 4 of the offensive linemen will. So good questions, though, man. That's good. Good chalk talk there. All right, next, offensive team passing yards per game. We finished 14th. Now, why do I highlight this? This is why this is very, very important. Again, why is that number down to where we're ranked 14th at 222 passing yards per game, but our yards per pass attempt is 4th? That's the more important statistic, right? Because, again, if we're pressing into the run, the yards per game is going to be down. This is showing you the true efficiency, the effectiveness of the passing game in yards per pass attempt. It's another example, just like points per play, yards per pass attempt is more important than yards per passing yards per game, if that makes sense. So Green Bay finishes 14th at 222.1. And again, why did that number go down significantly from 233.4 the previous year? 3 injuries with Jordan Love and them truly trying to press into the running game and lean on Josh Jacobs.
Yep.
So that's the way I see that. And to me, that's not a red flag there. If this number had been outside of the top 10 passing yards, per pass attempt, I'd be like, all right, boys, we got some trouble here. But the fact that that's 4th and this is 14th, that just washes out to me. As Baby Billy said, it's a wash. And why do you do it, Baby Billy? Because I'm selfless. Some of you guys got that. If you haven't watched that show, you need to go watch it. I don't know the name.
I don't know. I'm not a doctor.
I don't know the name of it. And it's hilarious. So, Baby Billy, somebody in the chat, I know you know what I'm talking about. What's the name of that show with Baby Billy on it? Offense team completion percentage, we finished 21st. Me no like you this, Emilio. Me no like you this at all. That is the accuracy issues, right? That's what we talked about with Jordan Love being off the mark last year. Now, could it be the injuries? I mean, when you're seeing him hobbling and hopping around the first quarter of the season, and he can't drive those throws, no one's going to convince me it didn't play a role in his accuracy or lack thereof. But
Right.
completion percentage finishing 21st at 64.06. Got to get better than that. Got to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and honestly, I think I'm more just, would like that completion percentage to go up rather than the yards per game. Just real quick, scrolling back up to that, Clay. I mean, we were only 10 yards off of being top 7. I mean, if we were, we're 14,
Yep.
we're 14 at 222. We had 10, 11 more yards, we would have been tied for 7 with Baltimore, Minnesota at, 233. So it's not like we're that far off. I think, again, right around that sweet spot of 10 and under would be nice, but I'm not mad at that 14. But, yeah, absolutely, that completion percentage sitting at 21st, that's kind of brutal. We do need to sharpen that up. I think that's on everybody, O-line, QB, and wide receivers. So,
Yeah. United Bates comes in with the name of the show, The Righteous Gemstones. Listen, probably don't want the kids watching it, but you'll get a good pop out of that show, man. It's pretty funny. Baby Billy, just remember that name, Baby Billy.
Is that Danny McBride? Is he in that?
I'm horrible with actors' names. I'm trying to think of what else he was in. But we need to pull up a picture of him. Talk about this for a second. I'll pull up a picture of him. We're doing 2 hours now. It's a 40-minute show. So
I dove through it, Jacob. It is Danny McBride.
Okay. I love that guy. I absolutely love him. If you haven't watched Kenny Powers, I tell you what, that's my spirit animal. If I had to choose a person, that would be my spirit. I think that's Clayton in another life, Kenny Powers. If Manny never married Clayton,
right,
you become Kenny Powers.
That explains it completely.
Randy saved him.
Yep. There you
Let's
go.
see if I can get this picture up here real quick of Baby Billy. You just need to see it. It won't take a second, I promise.
Oh,
There's Baby Billy.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Walt is that guy's
pay
name?
my scientists
Walter
and on my lab coats.
Yeah,
Goggins, right?
Walton Goggins. Yeah,
Goggins. Man, I love that guy.
It's
He
a
was
wash.
awesome in Fallout too as the ghoul.
Yo, he was awesome
Ooh.
in Justified. You ever seen Justified with Timothy Oliphant?
That's
That
about
is,
my hometown there, boys.
It's
Yeah.
Ketchum County or
Harlan
no,
County.
Harlan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you Bloody Harlan, when you watch that opening scene and they show this small coal mine in town that they're filming through and it's playing the music, you see that little smokestack. That's about a mile from my childhood home. That's where my dad still lives.
Damn.
Still. So
All right, now we
Good old
understand.
Harlan County. So offensive team quarterback sack percentage. This is the other thing. I don't want to tell people how to fan, and I know people speak out of their ass about topics they don't understand. I do it all the time about things I don't understand. I just watch enough football that I'm usually pretty on base with my football takes. Usually, not perfect, promise you that. But when you hear people online, they'll go, "Well, if you had an offensive line blocking for him, talking about Jordan Love, I'm like, boys, you got one of the better pass blocking offensive lines in the entire league." Okay, he was sacked the third fewest last year at 4.48% offensive team quarterback sack percentage. Now, Josh Myers, not good. He's gone, right? If Aaron Banks lives up to the contract that they signed him to, and you improved on pass blocking by move Elton Jenkins to center if he stays out of the gentleman's club, and you got Aaron Banks at left guard, you know what I'm saying? If Jordan Morgan's healthy and he takes a step forward, you're going to be able to stabilize a top 3 pass blocking offensive line here. It's absolutely huge for this passing game. So you can't blame the offensive line. That's the moral of the story when it comes to the struggles, the few struggles we had in the passing game last year. So any thoughts on that, gents?
I mean, I would just, again, if we have a healthy Jordan Love, I think that this metric even goes. It's crazy to me that we're third with a guy that had 3 major injuries that absolutely halted his mobility in the pocket. Am I crazy, Emilio, or do you think that you could see this metric improve quite drastically? And you look at what the opposite. We don't even see Caleb Williams on this chart, man. That dude is down in the booty cellar. You can't even find him. He's down there painting his nails wherever he's at.
That's the other thing. Let's see. I'm glad you brought that up, Emilio. I'll turn it over to you. We'll come back to it. We were at sacks, right?
Yep.
I didn't even focus on Chicago. Did they make this list anyway? Yards per pass attempt? Isn't that funny? I thought he had a hell of a year last year as a rookie.
He was real good at protecting the ball, a.k.a. not giving it to either the offense or the defense.
yards per pass attempt, he was outside of the top 24 somewhere. And he did not make the list in passing yards per game either. Isn't that funny? Isn't that funny how it's just, Emilio, it's a statistical anomaly is all it is, right?
He's down. He's down there, bro. He's in the well. He's in that Silence of the Lambs well.
Mhm.
Put some lotion on his skin.
You got anything to add on the sack percentage yourself?
Yeah, no, I think Jacob brought up a good point there. You know, who's number one? It's Buffalo. Josh Allen. He's able to get away, moves his feet, gets upfield with the ball in his hand. I think that's huge. Though we're third, I'm not mad at it at all. Again, looking at that last three, though, 8.33%. That's like Carolina, you know, Kansas City numbers. Kansas City, the last three games, they were 11.7, and they were 15.79 against Philly, looks like. So, I mean, that's, you know, under duress. That's where it's going to get you. I'm glad that our last one, we weren't crazy, you know, 5.7, a little bit above average. But yeah, that's I think you kind of really see as you're looking at it, this last three numbers really kind of been talking to you as you've been going through these. So our offense really started to struggle there towards the end, whatever you're considering, you know, our last three going in the playoffs, whatever it is, you know, as we were kind of going down there, that dip, I think we hung up a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. All right. That's it. That's your offensive breakdown. Gents, anything else? Let's do parting thoughts before we wrap the show up. We will wrap it up after the offense. We're at a pretty good spot here. Anything you want me to scroll back up to? Jacob, did you learn anything? Did you come away? You know, I mean, what sticks out to you about what the hell is your problem?
Oh, man,
Just the way you asked that to Jacob, man. I hope he learned something. Jeez.
How are you going to come in here for the last 10 minutes of the show and talk crap? Anyway, Jacob, what sticks out to you?
I mean, I'll be honest. I did not expect us to be in the top 10, let alone top 5 in many metrics. I'll be honest. Like, I just didn't think that we were that type of team. And I think, again, as Packer fans, we need to actually take a step back and not get so in I hate saying indoctrinated in our own. It's a weird situation. The Packer fandom has turned from one of the best, and then I feel like the internet age came through, and for whatever reason, that internet just made us seem like the whiniest bunch of you-know-whats. I just want us to understand that, like, we are one of the, if not the best franchises in the league, in the history of sports. And year in and year out, for whatever reason, there's a section of the Packers fans that wants to say, hey, this team wasn't this good enough. You look at the metrics, we were freaking good, man. Yep. We were up there with the top of the top. And I think that we need to take a step back and, again, realize that, hey, most teams don't get this year in and year out. We have it consistently, and I think that may be part of the problem, that we're so freaking spoiled. We are so spoiled. We're title town, baby. And we got to start thinking about the fact that, like, it's a blessing to be where we are each and every year. I think people take Matt LaFleur for granted. I think they take Jordan Love for granted. And this year, I hope that we absolutely capitalize on everything that we're supposed to, because I think that the sky's the limit.
Yeah, all good. That's a great question here, Emilio. And you wasn't on the show when we covered this first part, so I want to get your take on it. He says we went 1-5 in the division last year. How with these metrics right here, giving the ball away, turnover differential? I'm telling you, I know you guys get tired of hearing me say it in the post-game show and throughout the whole season. Got to protect the football. Got to win the turnover differential. That's what happens. If this turnover differential, right, and giveaways per game. Again, we gave the ball away on average 1.3 times per game, Emilio. Yeah. If you have that under 1, you probably win 13 games last year. I mean, that's the. I know that seems extreme, but you probably win 2. You probably split with the Vikings. And remember the breakdown we did the other night of the most important games that we lost last year? I don't know if you guys remember that. And what was the big thing? It was interceptions. Christian Watson fumble. Josh Jacobs fumble on the opening drive. Keyshawn Nixon fumble in the opening kickoff. But that's the only thing lacking. All good. And I understand what you're saying. Like you see 1-5 in the division. How?
Right.
The majority of those games, outside of the Philly game, they were all divisional matchups that we talked about, those tough losses. That's why we lost them, Emilio, was turning the ball over.
Absolutely. And I just wanted to pull the Patreon off the corner there, just checking Buffalo's numbers. I remember they did a thing on Josh Allen saying how he, like, specifically had to pay attention to not turning the ball over. You know, he used to hum it all over the yard, throw picks all the time, get him into these situations. 2023, he was 1.5. This past year, 0.4 turnovers, offensive turnovers a game. I mean, that was a conscious effort on his part to change that. I think that's something that we can definitely do. I think, Jay Love knows that. I think Matt knows that. I think that we can fix it. But you really have to, strive and make those changes to better that. I mean, they literally gained an entire, they saved an entire turnover a game just by better decisions, with the ball in their hand.
Emilio, to that point, look at that top 6 teams. They all did that. They all took a step and said,
Absolutely.
no, we're not going to do this anymore. We have to protect the ball. That means it leads to more wins.
They scream that to you in modified. You turn the ball over, that's something you're hearing every single year through your entire life. That thing is precious. I mean, what they do with Petey, he fumbled the ball. You better pick the ball up and you run every one of them, Petey, and then you try to punch it out in school and you do all that.
Make
stuff.
that pitch, Petey.
Hey, the best meme I've ever seen was y'all ladies love Ryan Gosling, but he was an absolute liability at cornerback.
It's so true, man.
Awesome.
It is so true. Whiskey 6-1 makes a great point. He points out Chicago at 0.9. So when you look at the giveaways per game, Chicago was 7th best in the league, right? Yep. But again, this is where it's important to look at all the metrics. Yes, they protected the football, but at what cost? Caleb Williams taking 7-second sacks, 4.5-second sacks, 5-second sacks, and killing their drives, right? So again, if you look at the giveaways, but then you go to the yards, the passing yards per attempt, if I can find it here. So remember, they were 9th in that. They're nowhere to be found on passing yards per pass attempt, right? So what does that tell you? He was just eating sacks and refusing to turn the ball over. That doesn't help you either. That means you're not seeing the field. You're not playing on time. Now, they blame the coaches and said they weren't teaching how to watch film properly. The excuses are gone this year for Caleb. They're gone.
Did you guys
get ready to go?
Did you get in the chat? Let me know if you got a chance to go and listen to Ryan's podcast where Ross Tucker, again, he highlighted Ross Tucker, and Ross Tucker said, really? Caleb Williams is going to throw every coach and coaching staff he's ever had under the bus, saying that Lane Kiffin never showed him how to watch film. Mm-hmm. Are you really going to say that you got to the NFL through the collegiate level into the NFL and that you need to be told what to watch when you're on film? Like, that's your excuse? Yeah. Honestly, like that as much as I give him a bunch of crap about being, the fancy boy and all that kind of stuff, that was insane that was his response. I was like, oh, holy crap, dude.
I'm going to tell you something. It wasn't Lane Kiffin either, Jacob. I know you're talking about the USC coach, came from Oklahoma. I want to say something about him. Emilio, keep that thought, okay? Yeah. I want to hear what you were about to say. But USC coach, Lincoln Riley.
I'm sorry, Lincoln Riley. My bad.
Riley. Let me tell you what Lincoln Riley did. And I'm a Notre Dame fan, so there's a big rivalry between USC and Notre Dame, which, by the way, seems like it's going away because now they're too chicken, to play Notre Dame. We got to reevaluate if we're going to play the Irish every year. Isn't it amazing to make it to the national championship? Now all of a sudden they're not interested in playing the Irish. Funny how that works, right? Anyway, he inherited a program at Oklahoma from Coach Stoops that was already built. He ran it into the damn ground like the U.S. government, let me tell you. I mean, he completely tanked it, right? Tanks it, and then takes the job at USC, and look at USC now. They can't – it's literally – it's a dumpster fire. Now, with that being said, why is Caleb Williams not taking accountability? That was his college coach. Now, I know that they tried to teach him how to watch film, Jacob. I completely agree with what you're saying, but you got a coach – in US, I'm probably pissing my USC fans off right now. But you got a coach, that's what you get. That's the byproduct, that picture right there. When you got a coach that runs a program into the ground, then jumps ship, and they're trying to buy up all the prospects they can in USC. And it's funny because the USC fans were talking trash to us Notre Dame fans going, look at all the 5-stars we got committed. They're all now changing their commitment.
Yep.
Because those commitments don't mean anything. The Irish, what they do is they tell their prospects, listen, bub, don't you commit until you're ready to commit, until you're ready to sign. You go explore all your options, and when you're ready, you come let us know. But we don't play that wishy-washy crap. I think there's something to that with Caleb Williams. The culture, he played for him at Oklahoma, then he followed him to USC, and they both grossly underperformed at both programs, in my opinion. Yes, he won a Heisman. I got you. But I'm telling you, man, when he came into the league last year, you guys heard me during the draft process. I would take Jaden Daniels over Caleb Williams. And this is why. You get this pouty, non-accountability. Again, you're just going to hold the ball for 6 seconds, take a sack, and then lay on the field
Say
all
the
dramatic, like,
offensive
watch
lineman.
my offensive
Yeah.
lineman suck. Anyway, Emilio, go ahead. You probably forgot it.
No, I was just going to say the Ross Tucker point. I mean, and he was saying, he's like, dude, I went to Princeton. You don't think that, like, I watch tape by myself sometimes? Like, yeah, they care about us, but it's like you're going to watch tape alone. There's no way you can complain about that. And the fact that he was saying that that like he went out, said this, you can think this, all right, cool, but you went out and said this to a journalist who's going to write a story about this, knowing that it's already all happened, already all in the past, and you're still going out talking about this. I mean, that's something that you got to deal with as a head coach. You got to bring it to, I mean, come on, dude. Like, what are you doing? You're carrying the C if you're trying to, but it's not working for me.
Yeah. And then Holmes says, Williams didn't even want to be a Bear, WTF. How can you trust
Right.
that?
Yep.
Okay. It's a great point. That's another, how many negative things are going to pile up? Like him losing in the college, in that college game, his final college game, and climbing into his mother's arms and crying.
Crying.
Yeah. And it's like, and again, I'm going to be very vocal about this. To me, it's not about the crying. It's about, you're the leader of that organization. You're the general. You're the CEO. You are the starting quarterback. And everybody in that locker room feels just as bad, if not worse than you. And your first instinct isn't, let me go be with my teammates. It's, where's mom? That's not a good look. I'm just telling you.
Mm-hmm.
And if you think for a second, people in that Chicago Bears locker room isn't thinking the same thing when they see him laying on the field and being dramatic after a sack, that they're all going, how long do we got to block back here for this idiot? Right. They got to be thinking that in the back of their mind.
I got some advice for y'all. Take 2 weeks off, then quit.
And then you look up and you see this on the sideline.
Yeah.
So anyway, go ahead, Jake.
No, I was just going to ask him. Obviously, you listened to it, Emilio. I had rarely seen Ross. Ross Tucker does not usually call out people like that, and he does not call out organizations. He specifically ended that convo being like, hey, to a Bears radio show, which is hilarious. He's like, if I was a Bears fan, honestly, I'd be not happy, like right now with the progression of where he's at. And then he went on to say too, like Clayton just said, the guy has his dad basically funnel in his press conferences to a point where it was like,
it's weird. It's
weird, man. What do you think, Emilio?
Yeah, no, and I think you're right. He really did get heated on the topic. It was his take of the week, whatever beer he's drinking, it was that take. And it's like, dude, he was like legitimately, he talked to Jack about it. He brought it up before, after. He talked to Greg Cosell about it. He brought it up on the draft show. Like, he brought it up on almost every one of his shows, trying to get your point and your take on what he thinks. And he still wanted to just elaborate on his feeling on it. It's like, dude, that's your job. You're telling me you can't go, and sit there and just put it on in the background. I mean, you could just literally put it on behind the Xbox so you can play Madden and be watching film behind it, and then maybe pick something up.
Oh,
exactly.
Greg Rice asking the tough questions. If you're going to cry in one of your host's arms, who would you pick?
Tim.
No, I think it'd be Jacob. Jacob's kind of busty over there, man. I think I'd take Jacob. You know what I mean?
Busty.
With that being said, we're out of here. All right.
No way. That's what you're ending it on. Did you at least say thank you to all that served for Memorial Day at the beginning?
That's a good point, Emilio.
What is it?
I said, did you say thank you to all that served for Memorial Day at the beginning?
We hit on it.
Okay, cool.
Yesterday, but why don't you take the floor here? Because I know it's something that's near and dear to you.
No,
that's a hell of a transition, by the way.
Yeah, my bad. I just didn't want to let it slide. I just wanted to, say thank you to Bates and everyone in the chat and everyone else, all friends, family that have served in the military. Giving their life for this country, absolutely everything we stand for. We wouldn't be here today without it. I think that it's something that's very important. You got to keep them all in your heart and in your prayers and your memories, all of that. Lost a buddy to an IED. So like there's a lot out there that, that we don't deal with on a day-to-day basis that other people are dealing with. So we just got to be thankful for having that freedom and being here in the greatest country.
Amen. Everybody in the chat, y'all hitting it nail on the head. Greg Rice, Memorial Days for those who gave everything. Holmes MD1. Thanks for all of our veterans. We need to do better today in this country for all of the sacrifices. God bless. Very well said there, Holmes. Very well said. So, again, anyone who's serving right now, I know that's not what Memorial Day is about, but I do know this. We're all not going to live forever. And there's going to be someday that there's a veteran in your life right now that you'll wish you had thanked while they're still on this crazy little world that we live in. So
I would yeah, like I said the other day, Uncle Dan, Green Beret, Tunnel Rat, Purple Heart, Vietnam, Green Ranger. My great grandfather, Mr. Henry Borden, was on the USS Indianapolis. So God bless y'all, and absolutely, man, it's more than I'll ever do. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, Bates, our resident Marine here, says, "Love you guys. Thinking of my buddies who didn't make it home today. Thankful for it all. Amen to that." And of course, I talked about last night. I had my grandfather served in World War II. Had an uncle served in Vietnam. My brother served in the Persian Gulf. In the first Gulf War, and just it's humbling, man. It's hard not to get emotional. So all we can say is thank you, and it'll never be enough. But really, really appreciate everybody's sacrifices out there, and the ones, like I said, that continue to sacrifice. Whether you're in harm's way or not in the current military. If you're watching overseas right now, like Tim's buddy, that's a big fan of the show. I say a buddy, but he's a brother to Tim. The way that Tim talks about him is just, man. But everybody that's over there, you're sacrificing being away from your family right now. That's a sacrifice that I don't take lightly. Just being away from the stupid stuff that we get to talk about here. It's just, can never say thank you enough. So with that being said, appreciate everybody hanging out with us tonight. We'll be back tomorrow. Probably we're trying to go a little earlier at times. We'll keep it at 7 p.m. Central, but don't be surprised if you see us go live at around 6:30 Central. We'll try to go live a little earlier when it makes sense for all of us. But tomorrow, OTAs, right? So
that's coming fast, man.
That's exciting.
I think they said 27th. They'll be in the building, I believe. Right? I'm showing the date May 28th. Through the 30th.
Is that the first? Is 28th the first day media can be there?
I think it may be. So they'll probably have some pressers and stuff like that. And then I think the 28th, I could be wrong. You guys check that yourself, but the 28th will probably be when they're on the field. Now, with that, you've got the OT or the mandatory mini camp coming up in June as well. So, guys, it's going to be June here in a few days. So we got these OTAs, and then it's mandatory mini camp. And then it's training camp, baby. We made it.
So crazy.
So, it's wild how it flies through. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this show. We appreciate everybody. If you want to support the show, the best way to do so is just be a member of our Patreon community. Just go to patreon.com/Packer Fan Total Access or scan the QR code in the upper right. There should be a link in the video description as well on whatever platform you're watching on, Facebook, YouTube, X, or Rumble. You can also find that Patreon link on my X account at Packers_access if that's easier. $3 tier get you access to everything. You can be a part of an awesome community. It has nothing to do with us. It's all of the listeners in there together collectively throwing ideas around and just having a blast. We'll do giveaways. We're going to be doing an autographed Lucas Van Ness card. We'll be giving that away this coming Saturday. Okay, and I believe it's a rookie card. I'll try to fish a rookie card out of there. And again, shout out to our good friend Rick Kruger, who, much like Jazambi did before, sending a bunch of autographed Packers cards to give away here on the show. You guys are just
so awesome. And one last thing before we go, just want to say congratulations to Cornell University. Jacob, ever heard of it? Won D1 national championship in lacrosse earlier today.
That's a bubble big red bear.
Hey, that's a bubble big red bear. Big
Who?
Last time they won it was in the 77, so big, huge win.
There you go.
Sure. I was actually part of a cappella group there at Cornell. It's called Here Comes Trouble. Maybe you've heard of it.
Unbelievable stuff I put up.
Join Patreon. That's what you'll get. I'll drop a stripe.
Give us money.
I'll put a stripe picture in the general chat.
Jacob, would you like to do a quick little promotion for your acapella group? Would you like to do that?
What? Oh, okay. I like it. All right, here we go.
Let's jam it out. Let's take it home the right way.
I was gonna say, let's go.
I don't listen too much Taylor Swift.
Took it down the sideline, turned over my guys, gave the football to a little kid wearing
65%.
65%.
How about these hands?
Just the tip. Sit your butt outside.
That's a good drop.
Thick.
All right, we're out of here. Appreciate y'all.
And we go.
Bye, guys.